Anne Holler is an applied color psychology specialist who supports designers on use of color in their designs. She's also the author of the best-selling book, The Little Book of Color: How to Use the Psychology of Color to Transform Your Life, published in 2019 by Penguin. Karen, welcome to the brandtuned podcast. Please tell us a bit more about yourself.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. I've been actually a fan of your podcasts, and I've watched some of your other, or listened to some of your other color podcasts. So I'm really thrilled to actually have a chance to chat with you, because I have questions I want to ask you as well. So I think it's quite an interesting, quite an interesting conversation. But I don't know what else to say. Thank you for the nice introduction. I mean, I'm originally from Australia. I've been over in the UK now for probably about 20 years, and I lived in Europe before then. But yeah, color psychology and design, color and design psychology really is my, I could say that's my life, it's my world, it's the work that I do. So I'm very much about using color and design to bring about positive change and to really use it to influence positive behaviors. So I work with companies and brands and people who very much have that same ethos. Okay, so you mentioned that you work with graphic designers when we were chatting by email in branding. So my thought is, are graphic designers not trained in color? I mean, what more can you explain to them about color that they haven't learned already during their training? Yeah. So I work with many different designers, in fact, because I run my own color and design training courses. And it's something that I noticed when I did interior design training, when I did a lot of my other sort of, when I did millinery, when I did fashion design, when I was back in Australia, is that color is normally half a day, and it's normally just the color wheel. And you can learn the color wheel probably in about 10 minutes. I mean, it is that quick. Yeah. But that's not color training. And you straight away out of the gate, you've asked me a question that's going to probably put me in trouble straight away. But color training has not evolved. It hasn't moved on. And if someone does a degree for 3 years, or they might do a graphic design degree or course, usually half a day is what they get on color, which is a real shame, because there is so much more to it. And so that's why when I work with color, I work in a very, very different way to what is typically trained. And I've spoken at universities, I've lectured, I've given courses for university students, and it is very different to what they get taught. Okay, can you give us a sort of peek into what color psychology actually involves, when you're working with designers, say? Yeah, so like for branding? Yeah, so color psychology, just in its very simplest form, is how color influences how we think, how we feel, and how we behave. We take in color before anything else. We are having an emotive experience. We can't help but feel something, have an emotional experience that affects our mood, affects how we feel, but more importantly, it affects our behavior and has an impact on that. And color can change any of those things, how we think, feel, behave in an instant. And that's very much what I focus on, is how can we use color? Because you can use color for evil, right? You can use color in bad ways. But I use color because for me, it's all about positive good and positive change. And when it comes to branding, because branding is really an artificial construct, we can make up a brand, we can create a whole brand personality, we can create all the values, all the ethics, everything around it. It is artificial. So we have the brand, and we have the story of the brand, we have the brand text, what we read. But what we always connect to first are the colors. And we are having an emotional experience already when we see the colors, before we've read any words. So we're already emotionally connected. And then we read the words, and the words need to back up what we're feeling. This is where we have a brand that is in alignment. because what we're doing as consumers, potential customers, is saying, this brand gets me, this brand understands me, this is for me. And then we're more likely to find out more, we're more likely to buy from them. And this is what I do. I look at the emotional message of the brand, and I have a whole framework that I work with, and a process to do the analysis of what the brand is, who the brand, what the, you know, from the inside, like the authentic brand personality. And then I look at what the color palette is for that, and how what colors would represent what the brand is saying.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so do you have any case examples you could share of maybe a brand that's misaligned with the color? I mean, have you ever?
I'd have to, well, see, that's for me to be able to do that, I have to actually do a full analysis on that brand.
Okay.
But a brand, you know, I'm just going to pick a brand that everyone knows, because I think it might be an example I can use as we continue talking. McDonald's picked, you know, their red and their yellow is a very vibrant red and yellow. It's a very happy red and yellow. It is not a rust red and a saffron, you know, it's not a dull, it's got a lot of energy. Yeah. Now, these colors that are very bright, that have a lot of, they're stimulating, they're highly saturated colors, attract children. Children love bright colors.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Now, yellow in psychology is the color of happiness. It's the color of cheeriness. It's like, you know, it's like when we see the sunshine, right? Red is the color of motivation. It gets your energy going. It's very active, very energizing. In the context of McDonald's, with these two together, what they want the children to be really excited to be able to go. When they're in there, they are a fast food business. So the idea is they don't want you to linger. They want you in, they want you to eat, and they want you out, because their model is a high turnover. But they want the children to have a really joyful and fun experience, because they want them to keep coming back.
Right. Okay.
Very, very, as I say, it's very different, and I'm sure we can talk about it later, to the McDonald's that is the green McDonald's. Very, very different, because they're after a different target market, and it's a very different proposition. So the colors actually tell you how to behave in that space.
That's interesting. So say you want to launch a restaurant business, and you really like, you want to avoid using the same colors as McDonald's, because McDonald's is already using them. Would you not be able to evoke the same feeling of happiness and energy through another color, combination of colors? Must it be red and yellow, in other words?
Yeah, you could. However, I work from a different angle. I look at always who the brand is, who they are authentically, because at the end of the day, the brand has to be able to uphold their values. They have to be able to operate from their personality, from their ethics. If you are just trying to show up a certain way, you won't know how to behave that way, because it might not be who your brand is. To me, that's a very old way of branding, is like, let's look like someone, or let's try and look different to them. That's all very external. I'm very much looking to do branding in a completely different way, showing from the inside out. So it's always about doing that analysis piece first. It's very much like an accountant. I can't give my accounts to accountant and say, is this final figure correct? They have to go through everything to make sure. That's exactly what I do. I go through everything about the brand, because the colors and the design style, with the knowledge that I have in color design psychology, the answer pops out at the end from the analysis. I don't influence it in any way. The information I'm given from the analysis will say what those colors are.
Right. So obviously it starts from the inside out. To what extent does the business owner's preference for color influence what they should use. So if I love yellow, for example, and my brand, we've worked out what my brand is all about, etc. Is it possible that you might say, actually, yellow isn't the right color for you to use?
Yeah, because I don't talk about color at all. Because if you talk about color, you are down a slippery emotional slope that you won't get out of. Color doesn't even come until I've done the full analysis. I don't even look at color. I don't look at the competitors. What I want is the ideal pure analysis of the brands. We have a baseline to work from. If at that point you say, do you know what, my favorite color is yellow, we have a conversation about your favorite color so that you understand actually it's about you, but it might not be about your brand, and it might not be representative of what your brand stands for and the clients or the target market you're aiming for. Because sometimes that is we separate this.
So how do you, once you've understood the brand and what somebody wants to produce, what their brand belief is, all that, how do you then decide what color would be in alignment with the brand that they want to create?
Well, that's my secret skill. See that, I mean, that's my years and years and years of color and design psychology training. That is when I take all of that knowledge and I'm able to analyze all the information. So, that's like you have.
Okay, that's your secret sauce then.
Well, it's, we wouldn't be sitting here for the next year me explaining how I do my work. It's like everybody who is skilled in what they do, that is then when they apply their knowledge. And that is that bit. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So what do you take into account? Do you do any competitor analysis? Are you aware of who the audience is when you're going to choose colors for the brand?
I don't do any of that to begin with, because I want a pure baseline from what the analysis is. This is what this is the colors and the design style that the analysis is saying. From this point, now we have a good solid baseline. Now we look at and also we've looked at the competitor, the target market as well. So we know that the brand that it's, as the analysis says, is actually right for this target market that you have already got or that you're aiming for. Then because then that's a baseline point. Then we start looking at the competitors. Then we look and see who is already using the colors in your industry. Now, this isn't because this is now coming into your field, right? So that part I am not the expert in. I don't go and trawl through and look for every single competitor. The business owner knows their market, and I say to them, who are your competitors? Who are you aware of? Are you just trading in the UK? Are you worldwide? These are sorts of things that you now need to consider. And if you need a lawyer for this, I would recommend that you go and speak to a lawyer. I really know where my boundaries are.
But if you're working with a designer, there's going to be quite a lot of overlap, because they're going to be working on brand strategy in terms of understanding what the brand should be. So if you're working with a designer, there's some element of going to be a duplication, because you're both doing that.
But we've already had that conversation. A lot of people, I often, when I do branding, I bring my own graphic designer in. So they know how I work, and we work very well together, because I actually take a lot of the work off them. It makes their life much easier, because I already come with the brief. I come with analysis and with the brief, and they're able to follow the brief and they interpret that. So they find it much easier. If somebody just brings me on and I say, have you got a graphic designer? I say, this is what I do. This is, when you bring me on, this is what I do. Make sure that your designer doesn't double up. And also, you need to let them know that I'm doing this piece, that I am actually I'm coming up with the colors and the design style, because not all graphic designers want to work that way. They want to be able to choose the colors themselves. So it is really, it's about having that communication, clear communication with the business owner and with their graphic designer.
Okay.
But I often work with my own, and that way it's very seamless.
Okay, so you work with business owners to help them with their brand rather than with designers?
Oh, no, because the designer doesn't know. The designer doesn't know a business owner's brand. Only the business owner knows.
Yeah, but the designer will have had some conversations and will
Not always.
create the brand strategy.
No,
Not
a lot of them come straight to me.
increasingly,
Yeah.
they want to get into strategy, so they will cover all of that.
Yeah.
So if they wanted to involve you, could they not brief you on what the brand is to be based on what they've understood?
Yeah, as long as I have all the information that I need.
Okay.
There's certain criteria that I need, and if it's not in the information that I get from the graphic designer, I will need to speak to the business owner, because I can't do it unless I've got all the information I need.
Sure.
I work purely on what is given to me. If there are gaps in that information, I don't guess. I work in detail. I'm really detailed. So I need the detail because the devil is in the detail.
Sure, but you could be briefed and then have a conversation as well with the business owner and the
to get all the information I need, and then I can do my analysis.
Okay. So say, in corporate life, blue is often used by many, many companies, and you don't want to be yet another blue brand. Do you help somebody to come up with an alternative color, that's going to stand out and be different to what everyone else is using in an industry?
Well, you can stand out and be different, but if color has a meaning, and every color has a meaning, and that meaning does not relate to your brand, if there is any confusion, people will turn around and just go, well, I'm confused. Like, they'll do this subconsciously, and then they won't believe them. If a financial company wants to look different, doesn't want to use blue, and they use orange and yellow because they want to really stand out, yet in their text they say that their attention to detail, that they they take everything seriously, that you can trust us, all of these things. Well, that's not what yellow and orange is saying. Yellow and orange is playful, mischievous, it's fun, it's happy, it's joyful. And you're like, hold on, I don't know if I believe them. How do I trust them? Because now people won't be saying this, they'll be feeling it, right?
They'll feel a disconnect.
They'll feel the disconnect. And when this is not in alignment, this is where confusion doesn't sell. You can't sell confusion. People will just go, oh, it's not for me, and they'll go and look somewhere else. This is why it's not about picking any color to stand out. It is picking the colors that actually represent who your brand is and what your brand stands for.
But there are lots of different shades of colors, and there's only, I don't know, 5 primary colors. Well,
there's 11 main colors, but there are, hues, I should say that correctly. There's 11 main hues, but off each hue, so off red, are thousands of red colors, thousands of blues, thousands of greens. So yes, it is picking the actual, and that's one of my skills, is picking is it a sage green, a grass green, a lime green, a bottle green, an emerald green, which is the right green? That is that's a part of my skill, and what I do is, if the brand from the analysis green is in there, it is which green. And not only that, but what's the intensity? Is it a very soft soothing? Is it a mid-tone, or is it a really deep stimulating saturated color? What's the proportion of that color? How much of that color is actually used to give the message of the brand? So this is everything. This is what I do.
So isn't there a danger then if somebody wants to be green and environmentally friendly, that you will end up choosing a shade of green, and they're all going to have some form of green, all the businesses in that area?
Yes, but that's, well, the first, yes, that's a very real problem, because it's called greenwashing. A lot of brands want to look a certain way. So the way they shortcut that is through, and they use color as a language, because it's a language without having to use words. So if you see a brand that's got a lot of green, there is an instant association. Oh, they must be natural, they must be organic, maybe they're environmentally friendly. You know, we have these connotations already, but there is also a backlash for that now, and it's called greenwashing. And so a lot of brands that are using it, there is a mistrust. Are you trying to pretend that you're, you all know this better than me, but there is something that you can, how do I even say this? You can use certain words in marketing, I think, without, I'm going to say this completely wrong, without having to prove it. So you can say that you're natural. There's words that you can use. If you use the word natural along with green, people will think the product is natural, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. So there's a lot of misalignment there, and there is a lot of mistrust that is happening around that.
Yeah, but assuming it is a really ethical business that wants to be green, I mean, the problem from a sort of trademark point of view, if a business ever wanted to own a color, is that if you're using an industry color, that it's pretty impossible really to stand out and own. But how about a company like Orange that has effectively, it's called Orange, they've trademarked Orange, and they're a telecoms business? What do you think of that?
I think it's clever marketing. That's clever, because they have found a way to stand out. But also I would then want to look at the brand and go, I'm expecting a certain kind of service from Orange. I'm expecting really friendly customer service. I'm not expecting anything draconian, old-fashioned, dull, boring. I'm expecting really happy, lively, a really fun, engaged, and really, really fantastic and great customer service. And they should be so hot on their customer service using Orange. I mean, EasyJet, right?
Yeah,
fun holidays.
Well,
having fun holidays. There was a stage when they're, and this is a personal view. There's a stage when when their flight attendants and their check-in staff were really surly and really not happy and miserable. And I will stand there and just go, gee, you know, it's not what you would expect from this brand. It's cheap and cheerful, right? That's Orange. Orange is cheap and cheerful and also friendly. I think they did some work on their customer service, because then it did improve, but there was a stage and I just went, oh gosh, you are so off your brand values. I didn't say that to them, I said it to myself.
So you associate the brand values from the color, you see. So there is some element of
they should
what your expectation is. Can you not help people with that, sort of, in terms of if a designer came to you and said, this is what we've created, now how does that speak to you, and then hear from you,
right? But isn't that doing it the wrong way around? Because that means if I said these are your brand values, that means everybody has to morph and try and morph the company into the values.
It means that they can have a quick way of assessing whether, to an expert like you who understands color, there is any misalignment between what they're doing and what the color speaks to you.
Yeah. Or so I could read their review, their analysis, and I can look at the color. And if there's anything missing, I have to find out those answers, because it's in the detail, and then I can say whether there's a mismatch or not. But I can't just look at a color and go, oh, the values for your company should be this, this, and this, and this. That's just back to front.
Well, what do you think of Apple? Because Apple, I think it's just black and white. They don't actually have a color, do they?
They had silver for a while, I think. Yeah. Or even white. But they're very much about innovation. They want to be the futuristic leaders. They want to be the brand that everyone else aspires to be and everyone else wants to try and catch up with. So their brand colors actually, there's no compromise with Apple. You could say, because a lot of people always say that their phones, you know, there's always a lot of problems with the phones, but we'll put that aside. The brand itself, that's what it wants to say, whether you believe that or not. But it was very much what Steve Jobs, I believe, from everything I've read about him, that was his whole thing. It was always about innovation. And so the brand very much has that message, and it's believable.
So what do you think of pink being associated with women and blue with men? What's your take on that?
Oh, right. So pink for girls and blue for boys. This is a cultural belief. Now, before the 1940s, it was actually cultural to have acceptable to have pink for boys and blue for girls.
Really?
Because pink is the lighter version of red. And so red was seen as a very masculine color and pink is a lighter version. So it was actually boys wore pink and little girls wore blue. Then I think it was about the 1940s, there was an American department store who did a big color campaign and switched it. Now, if we as people see color done in a certain way enough times, and we are told enough times, it is human nature then to start believing it.
Yeah.
So we then believe that pink for girls, blue for boys. Then manufacturers, well, happy days, because then their life was easy. That has made everything in pink and everything in blue. And then the whole pink backlash happened. You know, pretty much, I think probably in the early noughties, massive pink backlash. You know, there was pink. I've written so many articles on pink and pink women's relationship with pink. Yeah, I could talk to you for the rest of the podcast on this, but that is what can happen, is that a color can be associated to a demographic, to an age group. And because we see it enough times, we then end up believing it. And then there can be, which is what happened, is a big backlash.
Right. So if you are creating a brand for women, would you almost need to use pink to signify that you are for women?
No, not necessarily. It's again who the brand is. There are many different, if you think of a lot of different female brands, clothing brands, they have all their own personalities. You know, Victoria Beckham will design in a certain style and in a certain way and use a certain color palette. Licenza is very, very different. Jane Norman is different again. Marks and Spencer's, you know, everybody has their own demographic, their own brand personality, but the demographic that they're designing for, and also their own design style. And then there are the colors that they believe will sell.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more if you've got a platform and you're not really designing anything, but you just want to signify when people go to the website.
Not necessarily, because again, it would be what is who the brand is and who your target market is. Pink can turn a lot of women off, but a soft baby pink likely to, but maybe a magenta pink wouldn't, because a lot of women actually see this as being the grown-ups version of pink, a women's version, a grown-ups, you know, version. So that could be if there was a pink that was being used, but then this dusty kind of warm, dirty pink is becoming very popular. What you don't want to do is forever be changing your branding, because your market is changing or because the color is changing.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, if your target market keeps moving, you're rebranding. This is why I advocate to work out the brand or create the brand from within and out, instead of trying to find something out there and then always chasing this thing that is likely to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can be customer centric in terms of understanding the market, but you don't need to change your brand to fit with the latest trend in the market. You know, you need to have some sort of essential brand belief that guides you. I agree. Yeah. So if you are helping business owners who have an existing brand, what's involved if they want to come and work with you to see whether their colors are right or not? What's your process?
Oh, that's where I start from the very beginning.
How long does it take? What you know, how many meetings? What is it?
It can be very quick, or like a brand I'm working on at the moment, it's taking a long time because we have uncovered so many things that they now want to go and work on. So yeah, I do.
So it depends how clear they are to begin with about their own brand.
Yeah, and a lot of people actually, you've probably come across this as well. A lot of people don't know why they're in business. They're just very good at what they do, but they don't know why they're in business. They don't know their big why. They don't know why they're doing something other than they're selling. They don't actually, they're quite often very clear on the logical, rational side of the business, but not on the emotive side, or the side that connects, what emotionally connects their customers to them. So there's usually something missing. And so there is a self-discovery, you know, something that they will do within their company for them to realize, actually, this is why we're in business. This is what we stand for. And with the brand I'm working with at the moment, because they want to change the colors of their products, I recommend to them that they do a market research piece with existing customers, but also new potential customers. And I help with the questions, but I don't do the market research because that is not my area of expertise. But they've decided to go down that route because they said that they just want to uncover everything. So, you know, it could be done, the whole, you know, the analysis, if they know their brand really clearly, that could be done in a day, because they could, you know, I could ask them all the questions, we could flush everything out, I can look at the colors and go, yep, what you have here is what you're saying, this is an alignment, or you just need to I would just tweak this color and make it a bit lighter, make it a bit more intense, I would change the proportion. And sometimes it is as quick and as simple as that, and other times it is, you know, you're taking the whole engine out of the car and you are going through every piece.
Sure, yeah, that figures.
And that takes, as long as the brand I'm working at the moment, I honestly thought it would only be a couple of weeks, and so far it's been a couple of months, because they've just gone, we want to look at everything. They're leaving no stone unturned, and I go along with them.
Yeah, it can be almost like therapy, can't it, for people to?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, because color is emotion, so it can bring up stuff, but also it really makes people stop and think why they are in business. And it's not, you know, because I always want, you know, one of my aims is to connect them to the bigger, higher purpose. What's your big vision? What's your big why? You know, is it Stephen Sinek? I always say his name incorrectly.
Simon,
you know,
Sinek.
Simon, that's it. Yeah, you know, your big why. And a lot of brands don't know why they're in business. So I say that's a really good place to start, for you to know, because when you're really clear on your brand values and who your brand is, it means that you can show up for your brand, and anybody that you hire, anyone that you bring in, you can teach skill, but you can't teach attitude. So that you can hire on people who have the values that that, you know, that match your brand, so that you'll know you're hiring the right staff, and then you can teach them on the skill.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm getting the impression then that there is a right color for each brand.
Yeah, there is a, I don't want to say right, there is a color that best represents each brand, yeah, or colors, combination of colors. That would be the best reflection or representation of that brand, yeah.
Well, and you haven't got any case studies of brands that are out there that you know and can say, well, I think they are out of alignment or in alignment?
Well, see, if you'd asked me before, I would have gone and done some research. I would have gone, but no, it's not fair for me to do that, because I don't know their brand. They've not asked me to come in. And brands that I have done this for, that's under an NDA. So yeah. I'm not willing to do that. But I will talk about what I thought about McDonald's. I mean, when they changed to green.
Have they changed to green? I thought
they have for their stores in town centres.
Really?
So
to signify this movement towards fresh foods and.
Yeah, well, this is what. Yeah, right. So. And this is my view. This is the bit where I want to make sure legally I can say this. So this is purely just my view. I mean, they started doing this, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago or even longer. And the green they've picked is a really sludgy green. And I looked at it and I went, oh, why didn't you ask me? Because it's not a fresh green. It's not a living green. One end of green is about new beginnings, new growth, new life, like what we would see in springtime. But when green dies, it gets very sludgy, very muddy, very dirty. It's decay and death.
Right.
Now, the green that McDonald's picked is so on that border cusp. And I looked and I thought, okay, what are McDonald's trying to do here? And this is at the time when they were talking about that they're moving to more, I don't know if they even use the word organic, but more natural. They're caring about the environment more and all of these kinds of things. And when they first started, there was a lot of talk about, oh, McDonald's are just trying to make it out as if they're more natural and they're trying to save the planet and doing all this greenwashing. Then as the years went by, because McDonald's kept on that message and they kept on with the colour, people then stopped thinking that. Sorry, my chair's, that's my chair keeps on making this sound every time I move. I've got them on a squeaky chair. So yeah, over the years, people then started to believe it because it was becoming so commonplace. And I think when people hear something often enough, they believe it's true. So that, I think, is what was happening with McDonald's. Also, I believe that McDonald's had a whole age range, I should say, that grew up. They were kids, now they're adults. They're not going to want to sit in with Ronald McDonald's yellow and red. So how do they keep that market? How do they keep all of those loyal customers now that they've grown up? Well, you create an environment where they want to be, but it's still familiar McDonald's. So green and browns and woods, because now they can go in and they can sit and they can have a cup of coffee and they don't have to rush. You can sit in there and relax. And that is what those colors are telling you can do. Whereas when you're in red and yellow, fast, quick, I've got to get out, I can't relax. In fact, those colors won't let you relax because red is physically stimulating. So it's actually raising the pulse rate. Where green is, on the whole, I mean, not lime greens or bright greens, but on the whole, green is very soothing and it's very relaxing and you more want to sit and relax. And that is what the green, the McDonald's with the green facade, that is what it's saying you. It's saying to come in and relax. And I believe that they're trying to hold on to this older, their older market. But also I was thinking, maybe they're trying to get a bit of the market from Starbucks, because that's also green, a very different green, but maybe that's what they're trying to do as well. So that was my analysis. in a nutshell, about McDonald's moving to green. Also, the other big thing with the new green McDonald's is that they are all now electronic. They've got the big screens where you go up in your order. People also associate the green with that as well. So that's another thing. But it very much is what the color is inviting you to do, which is to come in, get your coffee, get something to eat and relax. You don't have to rush.
Yeah. They still obviously have the new generation of kids who would be attracted by the red and the yellow.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's when they go onto the highway, or that's when they go out and they go to those ones and they take the kids. Yep.
Interesting. Well, thank you very much, Karen. Is there a book that you would particularly recommend, apart from your own, for people who want to find out more about, color psychology, etc.?
Well, the only other one is my teacher's, which is the Introduction to Color Psychology. Her name is Angela Wright. She's one of my teachers. But no, there is not enough out there. Okay. There is not enough work out there. So there isn't anybody who has written a book that I know of, which is a shame, because I'm a huge advocate for this, and I feel like sometimes I'm talking in the wind, and then I get lovely people like you that want to chat to me about color. So but I have a free ebook people can download off my website, karenholler.com.
We'll add a link to in the show notes.
I've got that. But the other, and then there will just be other books on branding that like Simon Sinek. There's lots of good books out there on branding, of how to really get to the authentic personality, the authentic heart, how to very much come from within, not go, oh, who's your target market? All right, let's now create a whole brand that is appealing to that target market. That's the old paradigm. That's the old way of doing it. Or which, if your brand was an animal, what animal would it be? That's 1980s. We have to move on from this and very much get to the emotion, the heart, the soul, the authenticity of the brand.
Yeah. I mean, branding is generally a very mixed up area. When I tried to learn about it, there's just so many different views and so much jargon. So you have to form your own view about it. And definitely, I agree with you. It's about the founders, what they want to create. That's really important.
Because they live and breathe it, right? And they have to be able to uphold it.
And if you're an older brand, then you've got to go back to your heritage and see what were they trying to do when they created this brand.
Yeah, and also how it's updated, because when I do work with very established brands, and I say, how did you get to this place now? And what is where did you start? And what did the founder, what was their vision? A lot of the times they don't know. They've just had different CEOs or different managers come in. Everyone's put their own stamp on it. And what you end up getting is, half donkey, half giraffe, half tiger, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not an animal. And you can't, and it's like, well, who are you? Because now there is so much confusion. Even your customers don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And what often happens is that because there might be a new brand comes along, oh, they've got that target market. Quick, we've got to get that as well. So let's morph ourselves a bit. Oh, here's another target market. Let's morph ourselves. And before you know it, it's a complete mess. Instead of going, this is who we are, this is what we stand for, and we know who our target market is in alignment, and then you can speak to them. I think people have this fear of missing out, or this scarcity mentality, and that is the ruin of many brand.
Great. Well, thank you very much indeed, Karen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
That's it for this week. Do subscribe to the brandtuned newsletter to get weekly updates. I'd also love to get your feedback. just send me an email to info@brandtuned.com. Finally, if you liked the episode, please do share it with your friends and colleagues and review it on iTunes or whichever platform you use to listen to podcasts. If you leave us a 5-star review, it means more people will listen and we can spread the word much more quickly about the podcast. Thank you and bye for now.